Last crypto cycle, I was able to turn around $40,000 into over $1 million. And as conditions line up for what I believe is going to be an absolutely insane alt season later this year, I'm ready to do it again. Only this time, I'm going to be starting with just $10,000 and attempting to go to over 1 million. In this video, I'm going to be revealing all 7 tokens that I'm putting in my portfolio to attempt this 100x challenge. I'll also be going through exactly why I'm picking each one of these tokens and overall my game plan for how I plan to try to turn $10,000 into over $1 million by the end of this cycle. And if you've been watching my content for any amount of time, you know that I am absolutely obsessed with alt season and trying to track down the fundamental catalyst or like the underlying conditions that create the alt season like environments that we've seen in the past in 2021, 2017, and 2013. And I'm not going to dive into this too much because I have a ridiculous amount of videos where I go into the overall macro conditions that ultimately lead to alt season. I just put out one called I've Waited Years for This Macro Setup. It's finally here. You should go check that out if you want to understand what I'm talking about and why I have such a deep conviction that we absolutely are going to have another alt season. And that is, in fact, just right around the corner as macro conditions are lining up for what seems to be around October for us to kick off alt season. And the reason that I believe and that currently my models point to October as the highest likelihood starting point for the next alt season has to do with a couple of different things. First off, we have the TGA rebuild happening right now, and this is sort of like a giant liquidity vacuum on the market. And that's expected to go from now until about late September, which makes it very unlikely that we see an alt season like environment between now and then. We have currently the markets pricing in the first rate cut from the Fed in September, which would act as sort of like that first catalyst propelling markets higher, which would loosen credit and increase liquidity conditions. We have overall year-over-year global liquidity trending up. I talk about all the time how the normal global M2 chart that people like to use on X, etc., is kind of pointless because overall, like money just goes up. Like global governments print money year in and year out, and that chart just literally goes from the left to the right. If you zoom out on it, it literally just always goes up. What's actually more important to monitor is global year-over-year liquidity, or how much in percentage terms is the momentum of liquidity growing any given year. I point out in like every single video, and I'm sorry for pointing it out again, but you can clearly see the 2013, the 2017, and the 2021 cycles in this chart. It's super apparent where those alt seasons came from, despite this chart having absolutely no crypto like data in it. This isn't a crypto chart. This is just a global M2 chart. Yet it showcases all 3 of those alt season cycles because those were really just risk on events. They were giant money printing global liquidity surges that caused risk assets to absolutely go parabolic. And as you can see, global year-over-year liquidity growth has been abysmal since 2021. And that's because we had the fastest rate hiking cycle in the last 40 years post 2021 because of the inflation issues. And so the picture has been absolutely abysmal in terms of what causes risk assets to go up. But finally, we're starting to see that change. You can see over here for the first time, we've started to see year-over-year liquidity really start to climb and sustain these high levels. And I expect us to continue this sustained momentum into 2026. And I believe we're going to see this liquidity come from a range of different places. First off, dollar strength has been falling off an absolute cliff. When dollar strength falls, that allows other countries to stimulate, and that actually increases overall global liquidity. Second, as I talk about all the time, Trump and Scott Bessent's plan is to run the economy hot. That's why Trump wants all these rate cuts. That's why they're calling for changes to the SLR. That's why they're working towards a ton of deregulation. All of these things should loosen up credit, and by loosening up credit, more people will take out debt, and by more people taking out debt, that'll increase global liquidity. Finally, the fact that Jerome Powell is going to be out of office in 2026, Trump gets to name his replacement. Trump wants 300 basis points of cuts, which is absolutely unhinged, but he's going to appoint somebody into that chair who's going to do what he wants. Waller is already dissenting, saying that we should be cutting in July. You have multiple agencies now investigating the Fed. Trump is literally visiting the Fed today. I believe that all of this pressure is going to lead to whoever Trump puts into office in 2026 just doing what Trump wants. Basically, the game theory is if they absolutely screw up and, inflation comes back hot or whatever, they can point to all the pressure that was put on them, all the investigations into the Fed, etc. Trump calling for we need cuts, and say, hey, it's not my fault. Look at, everyone else, was pressuring me to do this. That's the easiest path for the least blame and the most job security, in my opinion. And so that's why I think we're going to actually see an insane amount of cuts going into 2026, which is going to further loosen credit conditions and further increase global liquidity. I also think we're going to see an end to QT. I don't know if we're going to see outright QE, but that's always something that is on the table, especially considering how Trump and Bassett want to run the economy hot. And then on top of all these things, we have the Genius Act that just passed, which is the stablecoin bill, which is extremely bullish for crypto. We have the Clarity Act, which is going to be passed at some point later in this year, which should bring a ton of regulatory clarity to the crypto space and is extremely bullish. We have the SEC, which is trying to foster innovation in the crypto space. So they're massively deregulating and loosening guidelines in the crypto space so that people can actually innovate and build crazy products. You have TradFi adoption of crypto, all these altcoin ETFs that are coming to the market that are sitting above 90% odds. All of these things change the direction of liquidity towards crypto. And this is the final ingredient. You have to understand the entire crypto market is around $4 trillion. BlackRock, a single company, has close to $10 trillion under management just themselves. NVIDIA, one single company, has a bigger market cap than the entire crypto space combined. Every single crypto token, every single crypto project, Bitcoin, everything else together. One company, NVIDIA, has a bigger market cap than the entirety of crypto combined. So the direction and temperature of liquidity matters a ton. And right now, TradFi is like going bananas over crypto. There is a ton of crypto adoption in terms of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and these altcoin ETFs that is happening behind the scenes. And they have trillions and trillions and trillions of liquidity that can flow into the crypto markets. Meaning we don't have to have a macro environment similar to 2021 in order to experience gains in the crypto specific sector like 2021, because the direction of liquidity is now pointed towards crypto. We have these TradFi flows now coming into crypto, and that means directionally we're getting more liquidity, even if the overall pie isn't growing as much as what we saw in 2021. If it's on par with something like 2017, etc., because of that directional liquidity, we could see an absolutely unhinged and insane alt season in late 2025, and I believe ultimately into late 2026, because I believe this is going to be crypto's first ever 5-year cycle. And I think I'm one of the only people that is saying this right now. But if you actually look at the macro data, you look at the rate cuts we're getting in 2026, this makes a ton of sense. Again, if you want to hear my full argument and reasoning behind that, go watch my macro conditions video where I really break that down. But this is basically the core foundation of my game plan to turn this $10,000 into over 1 million. Is I'm going to be riding the wave of what I believe is going to be maybe one of the biggest alt seasons crypto has ever had. And when it comes to my $10,000 portfolio, it's made up of exclusively tiny cap crypto tokens. And there's a very specific reasoning behind why I'm choosing only tiny cap crypto tokens. And that's because turning $10,000 into $1 million requires a 100x total gain, which is nearly impossible to do if I'm investing in large cap or medium cap crypto tokens. 100x gain is insanely difficult to pull off. And really the only way to do that is to focus on these really tiny high upside asymmetrical bets. But as they say, no risk, no reward. If you're here to, make 4% or 7% a year investing on index funds, this video is probably not for you. That's just not the kind of thing that I'm into. I'm into those 100x gains. But the risk when you're going for 100x gains is sometimes you get 90% drawdowns on tokens that don't end up doing well. Okay, the 7 tokens I'm buying for my 10K to 1 million portfolio. Token number 1 is UNA. UNA is a tiny cap token sitting at just 9.94 million in total market cap. I recently just did a video on Unagi and why I'm just foaming at the mouth bullish for this token and what they're building. Unagi was originally a crypto gaming project built by ex-Ubisoft executives. So this team worked on games like Far Cry, The Division, etc. And they ended up leaving Ubisoft to come build a crypto gaming studio. But recently, over the past 6 months, they've heavily pivoted into AI and AI products, focusing on what they call AI entertainment. And as you can see, like their branding, their overall just like design for everything is absolutely off the charts. It is just insanely top-notch in my opinion, especially for the crypto space. Earlier this year, they launched their first AI agent, Hannah. And alongside that, they launched Hannah Studios, which is an AI generative platform where you can generate AI videos, AI images, etc. And they currently have multiple AI games and products in development. What makes me extremely bullish about Unagi today is the fact that they just deliver top-notch products and experiences. They've really leaned heavily into AI, which I believe AI is going to be the single biggest narrative of this next alt season. So the teams that really not only lean into AI, but meaningfully lean into AI and deliver really good products, I think are going to do exceedingly well. UNA is an extremely small token today. Again, it's a tiny cap token, which means it has a lot of upside. In order for it to do a 10x, it just has to reach $90 million, which RSC, Researchcoin, reached $90 million in late 2024. In order for it to do 100x, it just needs to reach $900 million, which during an all-season mania, in my opinion, is an extremely reasonable thing, especially for an AI-connected project. we've seen countless meme coins and just really stupid, low quality projects reach multiple billions this cycle without the underlying dynamics needed for an alt season. My personal belief is that we're going to actually see at least one crypto AI project that reaches $100 billion in market cap. And I don't think that's going to be Una. That would be a crazy, insane thing to say. I think it's going to probably be a mid cap or a large cap crypto project today that's in the AI sector right now. But that being said, if we did have at least one crypto AI project reach $100 billion in market cap, that would cause an all-out narrative rotation mania where a lot of these smaller cap crypto AI projects would reach much higher watermarks than I think most people expect. And of my $10,000, I ended up investing $2,000 into the Una token. Second up is the Avo token. Avo is sitting at a tiny 1.4 million in market cap. I just did a video on Avo and why I'm extremely bullish on this token and everything they're building. Avo's tagline is find agents that trade your digital assets. They build multiple AI agent products, including AI agent wallet trackers, AI agent KOL trackers, which KOL just stands for key opinion. They're basically influencers, AI agent indexes, and then AI agent reasoning models. And again, they're currently sitting at $1.4 million in market cap. And the way it works is these different agents go out and buy various assets for you when you give them funds. So for example, this KOL tracker agent tracks whoever, I don't know who this KOL is, Dor, whoever that is. And every time their wallet buys or sells assets, the agent will buy and sell assets on your behalf, depending on how much funds that you've given them. Their index agent tracks a basket of assets. So in this case, it's the CoinGecko trending coins. If you give funds to this index agent, it's going to buy and sell whatever the CoinGecko trending coins are for you so that you don't have to. And then the reasoning agent uses advanced reasoning, in this case, sentiment data and a bunch of other stuff, to choose what tokens to buy and sell. And what gets me most excited is that anyone can launch one of these agents. And currently it's actually rather difficult to launch an agent. I think you paste the contract address into the search bar, and then that kind of starts the process for launching an agent. In the future, one of the roadmap items is to make this extremely seamless and easy as launching a meme coin on pump.fun. And anyone who launches an agent gets a share of the fees generated by that agent. So if you have a really good idea for an index or a trading strategy, etc., you launch that agent and it does really well. A lot of people put millions of dollars goes into it. You're going to collect 50% of those fees. And so I believe that's going to create a really positive flywheel where a lot of people are going to be creating agents. They're going to go out and market their own agents because they want to collect those fees. And because a lot of people are creating agents, you're going to have some that do extremely, extremely well. That's going to attract more people to come invest in agents and speculate on which ones might do well or won't do well, which indexes might do well or won't do well. And again, the flywheel continues over and over again. And where I really see this taking off is with creators, like being able to put together their portfolio. Imagine if I had the Jesse index, the 10K to 1 million index, and you could go on here and you could just one click buy, and then the agent's going to buy all those tokens for you. You don't even have to think about it. I can imagine there's probably quite a few of you that would probably do that because there's just a lot of people that like to copy influencer portfolios for whatever reason. And also just imagine for influencers, like they're getting 50% of the fees generated by this. So there's going to be a lot of influencers that would want to put together things like this, and then they would just shill it to the moon. And that means they're going to be shilling Avo's platform. That's going to be more fees for the Avo platform. There's going to be more people buying the Avo token. And again, that's just a really positive flywheel that I could see doing extremely well over time. And sitting at just a 1.4 million market cap, in order for it to 100x, it would just have to hit 140 million in market cap, which is like insanely reasonable thing to do, especially it's in the AI category. It's an AI agents platform. This is one I'm extremely bullish on. That's why I ended up putting around $2,000 into Avo. The third token that I ended up buying for my 10,000 to 1 million portfolio is Winner, which is currently sitting at 2.61 million in total market cap. Winner, as of lately, has been performing absolutely horrible. As you can see on the time frame over the 1 year, 30-day, 14-day, and 7-day, it's been one of the single worst performing tokens in the entire market. Despite that, the team continues to build and deliver. They recently updated and refreshed their website. It's a brand new website. It looks absolutely 100 times better than their old website, which looked like absolute garbage. You can see that Winner's had over 217 million in total betting volume. They've had over 23 million bets placed. They've had over 4 million in revenue generated. This is a real product with real users, with real adoption, and they're generating real revenue. And Winner is basically an on-chain gambling platform. Think of it as like infrastructure for building on-chain casinos. Online gambling is around $100 billion annually industry, and it's expected to grow to around $200 billion annually. And right now, nobody, literally nobody is building for on-chain gambling, which I actually think could be a huge industry in the future. Sort of like how Polymarket came out of nowhere with prediction markets. They worked a long time. They got no recognition. Everyone said prediction markets had failed. They were going nowhere. And then boom, out of nowhere, Polymarket became the single biggest breakout app in all of crypto. And the kind of positive flywheel for Winner is that anyone could come and launch their own decentralized front-end casino, and they could use various decentralized crypto gaming modules to build it. So you can imagine a lot of entrepreneurs coming, they promote it, they market it, they try to build a revenue source. Some of these crypto casinos, they're not on chain, but they are crypto casinos, have generated tens of millions of dollars in monthly revenue. So there's a lot of drive and reasoning for why people would want to do this. And this way, they don't have to build it from scratch. It's all provably fair. They don't have to worry about, users don't have to worry about like if they're going to get paid out or not because it's all on chain. And even though price action has absolutely sucked so far, I am extremely bullish, especially sitting at $2.61 million. That Winner will do reasonably well going into alt season, and potentially, if it catches enough catalysts, do exceptionally well going into alt season. 2.6 million is really, really tiny. There is a ridiculous amount of meme coins sitting above $2.6 million, like just stupid meme coins. And those meme coins haven't had 200 million in bets placed and counting. And unlike a meme coin, Winner gets stronger the longer it goes. The more it builds, the better the product becomes, the stronger the case for the platform. And so I believe eventually this is going to translate into a positive flywheel. They've talked about doing Winner buybacks, which I think would be extremely bullish for the platform. And at $2 million in market cap, given an alt season, I expect it to go at least higher than that. And all it would need to do 100x would be to go to 200 million, which again, seems extremely reasonable, especially given an alt season. For that reason, I ended up sticking $1,000 into Winner. Geonet is one of the biggest tokens in my 10K to 1 million portfolio, currently sitting at 51 million in total market cap. And Geonet is extremely, extremely unique in the crypto space in that it really isn't a crypto product. Like, it's not actually appealing to anyone in crypto specifically. The guy that built Geonet is like this insanely smart guy when it comes to GPS. He comes from that background. He's worked in that industry his entire life. And I guess one of the big issues with GPS, which you've probably noticed with your phone, is that it's actually not super pinpoint accurate. If you've ever done like Find My Phone on your iPhone in your house, it's like it might show it in your backyard, it might show it in your neighbor's house. You know, it's in general somewhere around your house, but it's not like it shows you exactly where your phone is in your house. But there's a lot of industries, especially robotics, that do need pinpoint accuracy. Like, they need things as far as GPS is to be exactly precise. And that's what Geonet delivers. And they do that using DePIN infrastructure, kind of similar to something like Helium, where they have these geode miners. Basically, there's like solar and atmospheric interference between the GPS satellite and whatever device you're using. And because they built this giant mesh network of Geonet miners, it works as a second data source to triangulate the exact positioning of whatever device that GPS is trying to track, resulting for Geonet into like down to the millimeter precision on GPS devices. And because of this, they've actually built a pretty good client base of people, again, completely outside the crypto space, who all pay for their services. And currently they sit at about 4 million in ARR. So that's 4 million in real revenue coming in for this product outside of the crypto space. And what Geonet does is all of that, 100% of that revenue goes towards buying back their tokens. And 80% of those tokens get burnt. The other 20% goes towards funding and running Geonet as like a business. There really is nothing else like Geonet in the entire crypto space. And for that reason, it's got me extremely bullish on the concept and the idea, especially considering there's just not a lot of like that's happened in like the robotics narrative, which isn't huge yet, but I think it's going to grow into a really huge narrative, especially in the crypto space. You know, anything kind of popular outside of crypto grows into like somewhat of a narrative in the crypto space. I don't think robotics is going to be any different. And this is one of the few robotics focused plays that you can make in the crypto space. Currently sitting at 50 million in market cap. In order for it to 100x, it would have to get to around 5 billion in market cap, which would put it into like the mid to large cap tokens, and is definitely a little bit of a harder lift than some of these other tokens. But despite that, it's a bet I decided to make, and I decided to invest $1,000 of my $10,000 into the Geo token. After that is SoulForge Fusion, or SFG. SFG is currently sitting at 4.4 million in total market cap. The fully diluted market cap is quite a bit higher, but currently their largest token holder is the guy that manages their tokenomics. And the reason he's the largest token holder is he's market bought those tokens with his own money. So I don't see them doing anything that is going to be catastrophic to the price anytime soon. In fact, they've already burnt a decent portion of the supply that's not reflected in these numbers. These are not currently up to date. And I know they have plans to burn a bigger portion of the supply later down the line. They really just want to balance the tokenomics with like good price appreciation, but hold back some tokens for rewards for their overall ecosystem. ecosystem. And SoulForge Fusion is a digital card game created by the same guy that made Magic the Gathering, which is the single most successful trading card game of all time. And if you've ever played SoulForge Fusion, it shows. It is an insanely addicting and fun game. I did play SoulForge Fusion for a little bit. When I was playing it, I was addicted. I had to stop because it was all I would like. I'd get off work, I'd play this. Before I started work, I was playing this. In the middle of the workday, I would start playing this game because it literally is super insanely addicting. And this is a little bit more of a niche bet. So currently sitting at 4.4 million in total market cap. I'm comparing it to something like Echelon Prime, which at its height, Echelon Prime back in 2024 reached a market cap of around $1 billion in total market cap. And it's literally basically the same kind of concept. It's just a crypto trading card game. And in order for SoulForge Fusion to do 100x, it would just need to reach 400 million in total market cap. Given an alt season and given enough fanfare, I think that's something that's at least possible. I don't see this thing going to 4 billion in total market cap, or even 1 billion in total market cap. But could it go to 400 million in total market cap? I definitely think that's something that's at least possible given an alt season environment. And so it was a bet I was willing to take. And I ended up investing $1,000 of my $10,000 into SFG. The next token you're going to be extremely familiar with if you've followed my channel for any amount of time, and that's Researchcoin. Researchcoin is currently sitting at 46 million in total market cap. And Researchcoin is a DeSci project founded by Brian Armstrong, who you may know because he also founded one of the single most popular crypto exchanges on the planet, and that's Coinbase. And despite all the skeptics and all the hate I got when I was talking about Researchcoin back when it was small, under $20 million in total market cap, it has done extremely well, where even at its peak after the Trump rally, it reached over $1. It was like $1.20 or $1.30 because DeSci became actually a pretty hot narrative, which was something that I didn't even expect. My entire thesis behind Researchcoin is that Brian Armstrong is the co-founder, and it is like the most mimetic thing physically possible. One of the things that drives crypto price action is mimetics. It is narrative. And the fact that Brian Armstrong is the co-founder is like just one of those viral mimetic things that, especially given an alt season, I think would drive Researchcoin to absurd price levels. But now on top of that, DeSci is actually a bullish narrative. So like you have a lot of people that are really into DeSci. It has actually been gaining a ton of traction. And Research Hub is actually a really well thought through and cool platform, where now they're incorporating AI peer reviews. They're tapping into the scientific funding market, which is $1 trillion industry. So there's a lot of bullish catalysts on the back end, like for the platform itself, on top of the bullish narrative that is Brian Armstrong is the co-founder. And imagine what happens when retail shows up and they're looking at everything AI, they're looking at everything, they want to invest in crypto, and they go to Brian Armstrong's bio on X, and they see he's the co-founder of Research Hub, and that Research Hub has a token, RSC, and that it's this AI, science, super sci-fi kind of thing. Retail doesn't really think through these things. They really tap into the narrative. They say, oh my gosh, this is bullish because of this really simple narrative, and then they throw their life savings in. That's what retail likes to do. And so my personal belief is that Researchcoin is just the perfect recipe for a viral explosive token given an alt season like environment. Also, for both Una and Researchcoin, they're both on Base Chain. And as I talked about a couple weeks ago in a video, Coinbase recently announced that all tokens on Base will soon be available to buy directly on the Coinbase app. And I'm not talking about the Coinbase Wallet app. I'm talking about Coinbase's like normal exchange app. They're going to be incorporating all tokens on chain on the Base chain for users of the Coinbase app to buy without having to go on chain. It's going to generate a smart wallet on the background. It's going to abstract away all the on-chain parts of it. So for them, it's just going to feel like they're buying something on the Coinbase exchange in the same way they buy anything else. But really, they're going to be buying it on chain, which means tokens like RSC and tokens like Una will be soon available to be bought on Coinbase, which is just another extremely bullish catalyst. When Coinbase made that announcement, they said it was going to be coming in a couple weeks. It's been a couple weeks. We haven't seen it yet. So I'm not sure exactly when that's going to go live. I would expect at some point before the end of 2025, it'll go live. Whenever it does, that's, again, just another added bullish catalyst for both RSC and Una. And the final token in my $10,000 to 1 million portfolio is the Virus token. And this token literally just came out yesterday. And this is a token from Pandemic Labs. Pandemic Labs is the studio behind the super viral game Infected, which is, it's kind of like Think of it as like meme coin adjacent. Like they're most similar, in my opinion, to something like Pump.fun. And so their first game, Infected.fun, I actually didn't play it, but it got over 130,000 signups in its first 48 hours. Basically, you had all these different viruses represented as tokens. And the higher that any individual token went, the more that virus was like infecting the populace and winning. And so your goal was to go spread that virus by getting as many people to jump into smallpox or getting as many people to jump into HIV and AIDS, or whatever the virus is you wanted to win because you wanted to make the most money. And obviously it's just like meme coin trading. The virus that ends up doing the most, those people end up making the most money. But all of it gamified, and you didn't have any like influencers like getting in early and all kind of nonsense you have with meme coins. And their second season is called Addicted, and it's on-chain drug dealing simulator, which this game has already had 200,000 signups in the first 24 hours, beating season 1 and showing that they have like continuous demand for these games that they're building. In fact, currently I can't even register because there's 235,000 people ahead of me. And my thesis behind this one is really simple. Currently it's sitting at 3.5 billion in total market cap. It's a really, really tiny token, meaning for it to 100x, it would only need to go to 300 million in total market cap. And these guys are insanely good at building hyper viral games. Like they get a ridiculous amount of people to sign up and play these games. This token is going to be the main token across all of their different games, and they're going to have it front and center. They're going to have a flywheel effect with they're generating a lot of fees and revenue from people playing these games. We know Pump.fun generated close to $100 million in its first 6 months. And this has a similar sort of fee structure with the more people that come play these games and are betting on, whatever virus or whatever the season of the game is, the more fees and revenue that Pandemic Labs is generating, and more that is going into their token virus. And if they can get hundreds of thousands of players to sign up and play these games, and they're really good at these viral campaigns, then I'm sure they're going to be able to get a lot of people to come and buy this token. And especially considering the fact that they're generating real revenue, they have real customers, they have real usage, they've shown that they've really built something special that people want to use. They're only on game 2 of like however many games that they're going to release. I can see this token doing insanely well even if we didn't have an alt season, but especially given an alt season, again, 300 million in total market cap does not seem unreasonable to me. And so that's why I ended up putting $1,000 of my $10,000 into the virus token. And you can see exactly how much I hold, exactly how much it's worth, etc. Currently in my Solana wallet, I have around $3,600. I had to pay various fees, etc. when buying these things. Some of it had to go towards gas tokens. So I actually am currently sitting, I think, a little under $10,000 right now. And then as you can see, this is my Rabby wallet that has the other base Polygon and Arbitrum tokens. You can see them all here, as well as I've included links to every single one of these tokens in the description of this video for anyone who might get confused or wants to check them out. And for this 10K to 1 million challenge, I'm going to be doing updates on all of these projects every couple of weeks from now and through alt season. So if you want to stay up to date on what these projects are doing, what my 10K to 1 million portfolio is doing, and just kind of how this experiment progresses, make sure to subscribe and follow along. And obviously this is, again, just my hyper high risk bets for this experiment. This isn't my entire portfolio. If you are interested in seeing my entire portfolio, every time I buy and sell, weekly market updates on the current state of the market, alt season, etc., as well as just a ton more, including my 2-week model experiment, which I'm going to be doing a video to update on that as well. Make sure to check out the Obsidian Council. Currently, it's closed to new members, but if you're interested in joining, make sure to sign up for the waitlist in the description of this video. As always, obviously, none of this is investment advice. None of this is me telling you to buy any of these tokens. I am very obviously not your financial advisor. You should always do your own research, act like an adult, and take responsibility for your own investment decisions. If this video is helpful, make sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the little bell next to it to be notified each time I release a new video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.